All right. Hello, everyone. Hello to and welcome to a new episode of Seven Figure Screw Ups. And today I have an absolute pleasure of having Josh Turner as a guest. Hey, Josh. How are you doing?
Hey, Ozzy, how are you?
Good. Thanks. Yourself? All good?
Yeah, everything is great.
All right. So how do I introduce Josh? I know Josh, and I know him mostly through the work that he's doing related to LinkedIn. He is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. Published two books. One is called Connect. One is called Booked. He's also running an online program called LinkedIn University. So if you're interested in learning anything about LinkedIn, especially about lead generation, Josh is the man. And also he has a company called LinkedIn Selling, which is in B2B lead generation space using LinkedIn. So anything LinkedIn. So Josh is the man. Is that an accurate introduction, Josh? Or
Yeah, that'll get the job done.
all right, that's cool. So as you know, Seven Figure Screw Ups really serious is really about talking about failures, screw ups of very successful people like yourself. So before we talk about what your favorite screw up is, I'll be curious to know what really life was about before the screw ups. Where were you with your business, in your private life? What was happening for you? What was your role you were in? And then
Well, like I was mentioning to you, in my company, we've been really blessed the last 5 years to where I haven't had a mistake that has caused us to like hit the ground. Like we were doing amazing, and then it was all down the drain. But I did have a situation before I started my company where I was a CFO of a construction company that had grown really fast. And, being part of a smaller company, we went from 5 to 23 million in revenue in just a few years. And when you're in one of the few senior management roles of a company of that size, it's very entrepreneurial and you're very invested in it. Like I felt like, it was my company. I had that kind of an ownership mentality around it. And it was a lot of fun, before the mistake that I want to share with everybody. And this is a lesson that has stayed with me over the years. And it's something that a lot of people need to hear. Otherwise you have to learn it the hard way like I did. But it is, before it happened, the company was just doing exceptionally well, just growing like a weed. We thought that, we were the bee's knees and, the sky was the limit and we were starting new things and the banks were just giving us as much money as we wanted. And, everyone in the company is getting raises and we're hiring people from all over the place. And, it was a lot of fun. We felt pretty good about ourselves.
All right. And that was, you said you were in the construction business. Were you in a specific niche or what kind of?
Yeah, we had a residential construction arm that built custom homes, very high end, multi-million-dollar homes. And we had a commercial division. We did ground up commercial construction as well as tenant finishes and build outs and stuff like that. We also had a manufacturing arm. So we had about a 45,000 square foot facility in St. Louis where we built custom casework and cabinetry for commercial projects as well as some residential. We also started a window distributorship, essentially a retail storefront selling windows and doors from a manufacturer out of Canada. So we had a few different arms of the company, but it was really, really exposed to the downturn in the economy when in 2008, people stopped spending money. They stopped building homes. Commercial projects ground to a halt. And, that kind of was the beginning for us. That's what the company was about.
Got it. And so basically life was good.
Yeah.
Company's growing fast. You're a CFO, so you feel like you probably had a stake in the company as one of the early members, or in a fast-growing company, you always get a good stake or solid stake. So now the question is, at that point, what actually happened? What triggered? What was the failure? Was it on your side? Was it economy that you said, coupled external factors, coupled with mistake. What
Well, here's the what happened wasn't necessarily one single event, but what happened is that in the heyday, as things were going really well, we just continued putting all of our money into growth. And we continued investing in doing new things and branching out and getting bigger. And we never stepped back to say, you know what, we need to harvest some of this success and build up our balance sheet and, build up our cash position. And what happened is that at the time, our CPA, our consultants, the bankers, everybody was telling us we're making all the right moves. We're doing all the right things. They're giving us as much money as we want. We had huge, massive line of credit. We had term debt. We're financing equipment. It was pretty much the sky's the limit on what we could get financed. And but what happened is that we were just way, way over leveraged, way too much debt. And when the rainy day came, and the rainy day will come for every business, it's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. And when it comes, you have to, you just can't have enough money set aside for that rainy day to weather the storm. And we didn't have it. So what happened is that the banking situation changed in 2009, and all of a sudden they cut us off, and we weren't able to stem our losses fast enough. We started losing work. No, people stopped spending money, and our backlog of work dried up, and we started losing money. We couldn't shed overhead fast enough. We had built up so much debt and fixed costs, and eventually we just totally ran out of money and had to shut the doors. And that there was a pretty big business with a sophisticated operation and lots of debt financing from banks and such, which a lot of people listening to this call might think, I'm not that kind of business, that's not going to happen to me. But my business now isn't that kind of business either. We have zero debt, and we could get some if we wanted to, but we have zero debt. And I still take that lesson to heart, knowing that, from day one of starting my business, I knew that I was going to make sure that making sure I have plenty of cash for a rainy day was always going to be a priority. And it's really, in terms of the financial side of the business, the number one metric that I pay most attention to, because I want to make sure that when, we're in some good times right now. These last few years, everybody is doing well. Everyone.
Okay. And before we go into that, and especially the lesson that you're in, I will be curious to understand. You mentioned like we're growing from $5 to $20 something million, but using a lot of leverage and debt financing, and suddenly everything collapses. Like you run out of cash. The question was, what kind of impact did it have on you, that failure at that time? Think of a time emotionally or financially. Sure. So, because this is something that I find that not so many people talk about in the online business space, and it kind of everyone feels it or goes through it at some point.
Well, it was terrible on a lot of levels. It impacted a lot of families. At our peak, we had over 100 employees. When we shut down, we were down to maybe 60 or something like that. So everyone lost their job immediately without hardly any warning at all. Even though some of us in the management team, we kind of saw it coming, but we were trying and working hard to prevent it all the way up to the final day, because that's what you do. And, it was very difficult to have that meeting, to bring everybody in, and the CEO of the company say that we're shutting the doors. Very difficult, lots of tears. It was a company that was run like a family in a lot of ways. People loved working there. It was absolutely a great place to work. A lot of people had made long careers out of being with this business. It was an established business that had been around for over 25 years. And so it was difficult. At the same time, it was difficult on the ego, because you feel like a failure. And
What was the impact on you? On
well,
you?
that's what that for me. It was, you know, what am I going to do next was the one of the things, because when you're in that kind of situation, you have to, as much as difficult as the situation is on all of the other people impacted, like you still have to concern yourself with what am I going to do next. And so that was a big focus of mine, and I really channeled a lot of my energy into that. But it took me some time to get past that business failing, because that's a hit to the ego,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want that on your record, and it was just, but more than anything, it was just the to work so hard for so many years, and then to see and then to have it end is in that kind of a fashion. It's difficult on a lot of levels.
Did you experience like guilt for being, CFO of the company, or you experience like fear of, how is it going to affect my future business or my career in some ways?
I mean, I'm still pretty young. I'm only 35, and when that company closed, I was 29. So I wasn't. What was it? No, I was 28. I think. I can't keep track of it all. Something like that. So I was young enough that I knew that, I was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't too worried about it. Like, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a hit to the ego, like I said, but I felt pretty confident in myself, and that's why I started my business doing my own thing. And, initially what I started doing was working as a freelance CFO for other businesses in the St. Louis area. And, pretty quickly I was able to get enough clients in the door to keep the lights on and pay my bills. So people didn't really have an issue with that kind of stuff.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, it's definitely a massive, what has happened, a massive hit on the company. A lot of people, as you said, a lot of people lost jobs. And so you mentioned that, the big lesson that you've taken from it was really about the cash flow, managing cash and making sure that you have money in the bank, you have zero debt. So
most people don't do it. Most business owners, even larger companies, I meet with lots of business owners and lots of 7-figure entrepreneurs who are running companies doing a substantial volume that are still operating payroll to payroll and hand to mouth. It's really crazy. And, they constantly spend, they don't save enough, and they don't have anything set aside for the rainy day.
Got it. And so how did that influence your decision later on when you started LinkedIn selling in terms of your overall philosophy on profitability from day one, or when do you expect profitability to come, or overall financing versus no financing? What's the biggest lesson that you've taken out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there can be good debt. So I'm not opposed to debt if used properly, but generally speaking, like I mentioned earlier, I have a really, really intense focus on keeping an eye on where is the cash position going. And a lot of people they don't pay close enough attention to that, because what's on your P&L doesn't always mean cash in the bank. So one of the things that we do in my company is a 13-week rolling cash projection, so that I can always see on a weekly basis where is our cash position heading for the next 3 months. And then, of course, we look at longer-term projections too, but from a more short-term management standpoint, we pay a lot of attention to it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. I was recently listening to Vern Harnish, who helps this, big companies grow and scale, has his book Scaling Up.
Yeah.
One of the things he was saying was large companies make exactly the same mistake of not keeping enough cash in the bank. And he mentions Apple, who is known to have a lot of cash in the bank as a company who is, able to sustain big hits, going to big M&As. Yeah. And this is one of the parts of their philosophy. So I think it applies on all levels, whether you're in a mid-sized business or a small business or online or offline or a large company. I think it applies really, as you said, what is in P&L doesn't mean that that actually you have cash.
Right. Yeah, and I think the best, most practical advice I can give somebody that's at an earlier stage in their business is, as you start seeing successes in your business and you start seeing the cash build up in your bank account, you have to really be you have to go into it with the right mindset, that you're not going to immediately start adjusting your lifestyle and going out and buying stuff and, you know, the new car and the this and the that and everything else, you know, because that kind of stuff is like, that's not what life's about, you know, in the first place. And you know, for me, it's always been more rewarding to make sure that I'm building a cash balance that is far and away more than, you know, most of our other peers in the industry, than to have the coolest car.
Good. Yeah. So stay lean. I think it's called the Parkinson's law, meaning that as much as you make, you spend as much as you make, something like that. So people get a raise, they start spending more, they buy better car. I think staying lean also removes probably that fear of uncertainty, and, you know, it gives a little bit more certainty on a day-to-day running a business.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips on how you manage fear of failure? One of the final concluding thoughts, like on a day you've been running a new business for the last 5 years, as you said, and I'm sure fear of failure comes, like whether this will work, whether your launch will work, whether it will not. So how do you deal with some of your tips for dealing with potential fear of failure? Let's say your last launch. I know you had a very successful launch, so that's why I'm asking about.
Well, I mean, on that launch, it was very successful. We had close to 90,000 people come through our world and, you know, opt in to get my book when we launched it, and we had over 1,200 new clients join our program, the Appointment Generator, and so massive success. But leading up to it, I did have that kind of a fear of failure, and it wasn't so bad that it was like debilitating or handcuffed me. I would, but I thought about it a little bit. And the main thing for me was wanting to do right by all of our people on my team, all of our partners that support us, all of those things. That's what mattered most. And, at the end of the day, if you're putting in the work and you execute the plan, then, that's the best you can do. And if you can wake up in the morning and say, you know what, yesterday I gave it my all, and I didn't let up, then I think you can feel pretty good about yourself at the end of the day. So I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I don't have the solution for it, but I think that there's a healthy side to it, because sometimes that kind of anxiety or stress kind of gets your mind thinking about things in a different way, and can cause you to realize that, this is something I'm kind of stressing about. What do I need to do about this so that it's not something I have anxiety about? And usually there's a solution to that. And, that's one way I think about it. But at the end of the day, I also think about what's the worst that could happen, and usually the answer to that is it's not that bad.
Right. Yeah. So some of the affiliates may be pissed off, or I would be for a few days not feeling well. And so in a large scheme of things, it's really, as you said, it's not that big. What I love about what you said is that also you know what you control. And oftentimes, whether something going to be successful or not, if you gave your best, sometimes you need some luck as well, right? But if you gave your best, because this is what you control, right?
Sure.
You live with that, then it's fine. So I think it's a wonderful strategy. So I think for me, it's a great takeaway. That's been great, Josh. Thank you for joining the call, first of all, and sharing your story. I think audience will find a lot of value in this. And at the very end, I wanted to ask, how can people find you if they want to learn more about LinkedIn and lead generation through LinkedIn? What's the best way?
Sure. I'd say just you can look me up on LinkedIn. And send me a connection request and tell me, you listen to this interview. So I know where you're coming from, or just go to linkedselling.com and you can, check out our stuff there. We have different webinars you can sign up for and stuff like that.
All right. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thanks once again for joining the 7 Figure Screw Ups today.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun, man.